I'm your host, Zach, and this is the Hoop Junkie Podcast, where we talk all things hoops. If you're looking for another podcast to make that long drive a little less terrible, or even looking for an excuse to get out of speaking to your coworkers, this is the place for you. Enjoy the show.
Greatness on one end in LeBron. There's a dude with 35 in white getting it done defensively and then offensively, taking over the final. Mama, there goes that man. Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
Not a game. Not the game that I go out there and die for. Play every game like it's my last. Not the game. We're talking about practice, man. I mean, how silly is that? And we're talking about practice.
Holds up three-pointers. Bang! Bang! It's good! Wins the game at the buzzer!
Hello, welcome back to the Hoop Junkie Podcast. First things first, please hit that like and subscribe button on whichever platform you are consuming this junk coming out of my mouth. So, hey, gentlemen, how are you guys doing today?
Doing all right, other than your boy Luca putting us in misery yesterday.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I'm still trying to get over that one. And then you wore the Luca shirt right in front of me, knowing that we're recording tonight, but it's okay.
Man, you know what? I didn't message you about that game for a reason because I wanted to save all of my shit talking until today.
Fair point. Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to wear the shirt, but since we're in my own home, I decided not to put my shoes on. I want to put my Luka ones on today, too.
I wouldn't have blamed you how that went.
Yeah, not the biggest Mavs fan right now whatsoever.
Hey,
yeah, we'll just move on from that one. We'll act like that game didn't happen.
Hey, if it makes you guys feel any better, I always support the Grizz. Any other day of the week, as long as they're not playing my Mavs. I love Ja, but yeah, they had to lose that one this week, man.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
Yeah, Memphis hasn't beat Dallas in a while.
What, 6-1 in the last 7 games for Dallas?
Yeah, something like that, man. So
Yeah.
hey,
keep reminding us. That's fine.
Hopefully we keep that trend going, though.
Western Conference Finals preview.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I would love it, man. I would love it. But look, guys, I'm excited that you guys are back here to stay. I'm glad we didn't run you guys off. And hopefully our listeners, you guys enjoyed our 15-hour episode 2 pod that we dropped last week. I hope you guys were excited.
Try to keep this one a little less than 2 hours. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, significantly less than 2 hours for sure. It's football Sunday, so I got to get back to watching some football. But
yeah, we've got a big Steelers-Dolphins game we have to catch tonight for sure. That'll be a crazy one.
Is that the Sunday night game?
I believe so.
Kenny Pickett's going to put up 40 points tonight. What do you think about that?
That's the first hot take for sure. We'll see about that one.
Yeah, that's definitely not happening.
If that's how this pod's about to go, then we're going to be in for a wild ride.
Oh, yeah. Someone's going to clip this up and be like, I can't believe that TC gave this terrible take last week. Oh, man. Well, look,
So
y'all.
stick to basketball.
All right. Let's move on to some news from the association. According to TMZ, James Bouknight of the Charlotte Hornets was arrested while passed out in his Mercedes-Benz AMG GT in a parking garage with a bag of Doritos and a handgun in his lap. Police officers tried to wake him up several times over the course of an hour. When he finally awakened, he then hit 2 police cars, according to the Daily Mail. Bouknight was booked before being released on a $2,500 bond. He was not charged with any crime relating to the gun because North Carolina doesn't require a permit to open carry a weapon. Bouknight wasn't suspended and has not missed any games.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. This is his 4th DUI, in the past, year or two. And so I don't know what they've got going on in Charlotte, but it's you can't get through a season in Charlotte without doing something stupid and getting arrested.
Someone take the keys out of that guy's hands.
Yeah, first you got Bridges doing that, then you've got Bouknight. I will stand by. Gordon Hayward deserves to be arrested for that haircut that we talked about last week. So I don't know what's happening next, but LaMelo Ball better just like lock himself inside and not do anything.
Well, when you think about it too, and then they had Trez Harrell last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
I mean, like,
Which that was marijuana. Like
Yeah.
that one should have been okay, but. Yeah, it's a wild story. I don't know. And they're very specific to mention the Doritos. So I'm kind of like, is this like a Doritos advertisement placed in as well? But yeah, and then they played him like the first game. He didn't do anything. He was like 0 for 5 from the field. But yeah, it's crazy. I remember when the Grizzlies had the 10th pick, a lot of people wanted him over Zaire. And a lot of people were upset about that pick. And then it's just crazy how that works out because you look a year later, Zaire has a lot of potential. And Bouknight is falling asleep in cars with Doritos and Glocks in his hand. So
Yeah, if it was a bag of Funyuns, he probably would have had a $5,000 bond.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the Doritos was definitely a better call.
oh man, you gotta think about it, man. He must have had a good night. Oh, he must have had a good night, man. Well,
Hope it was worth it.
look, so in a little bit lighter news, nobody's getting arrested on this one. News leaked last week. I don't know if you guys heard about this, that the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, has his eyes on the potential tankathon that's brewing with Victor Wembanyama.
A lot of Captain D's teams that are racing for him.
You're right, man. According to a report from ESPN's Baxter Holmes, Silver, while discussing the topic with Phoenix Suns employees, called the strategy a serious issue that has sparked hundreds of meetings and that they have already put teams on notice of harsh penalties. And then check this out. One of the harsh penalties being thrown around is relegation to the G League. Like similar to the way like European soccer teams drop from their current league to like a lesser one. That's what's being thought about right now. It's just crazy to think that's going on.
That's a wild one. I read about that one earlier today. And can you imagine like if OKC lost like 5 games in a row and all of a sudden they're in the G League and they promote like the Ignite or something and all of a sudden they're playing the Suns on a Wednesday night getting blasted, which I don't know, that one like random team beat the Suns, so who knows what would happen. But
It was an Australian team, right?
Yeah, it was. So yeah, it would never happen. Like there's no way you can actually
No.
But the fact that they're like throwing these situations out shows just how serious it's about to get. I don't really know what the solution is. I mean, they flattened the lottery odds a couple years ago to make it to where I think it used to be like 25% for the top team, and now it's all down to like what is it, like 14%?
Yeah,
for the top 3.
Which that's helped a lot with it. I mean, obviously there's still some stuff that needs to be done. Adam Silver even said that that's something that they've been talking about, but he's not really high on it just because like it's gonna tear up their whole business model. Like,
right? Yeah, there's no way you could do that.
Relegate a team. Now you gotta promote a G League team up into the league.
Yeah,
and then
would
they
never
don't have
happen.
the facilities to handle it,
Right.
and all that other stuff. So
yeah, logistically that's a nightmare, but it just kind of opens up the discussion. Like, what else can you do? I think flattening the lottery was a good step. I don't really know what else you can do from here. Like, especially when you have a prospect like Wembanyama coming in, like. At the end of the day, it is what it is at this point. I don't know how much more you can do, but I guess they're open to suggestions.
right, but I think one thing we can take away from this is that Adam Silver ain't playing no games.
Nope.
Like is this a precursor to like maybe of some coming harsher penalties that might come down? And I think like news like this, like it leaks for a reason. Like,
Oh yeah,
Adam Silver,
100%.
He knew this was gonna get out. Like, so I'm really curious to see like what happens over the next like long term outlook for like 5 years.
Oh yeah, for sure. Bruh. So obviously we're only a week into the season, but at this point we've seen every team play 2, maybe 3 games. So the Hoop Junkies, we've seen all that we need to see. So we're going to come in with some hot takes, potential overreactions after the first week of the season. Each of us has picked one overreaction that we'll go over, and we'll start with Zach. What's your overreaction on the first week?
I'll cut you off. I'm telling you. I told y'all last week, and I'm telling you again this week. The Pelicans are title contenders. We should have
rolling with them.
We should have put them in the Chipotle category last week. You saw what they did to the Nets. Then they went ahead and they beat a Charlotte Hornets team, which we actually thought was bad. But look, they beat the Hawks today, right?
Yeah, there's like a minute left as of recording, but they're up by 18. So yeah, the Hornets look okay right now. They beat them. I don't know. TC, what do you think? Is that a hot take? Is that too far?
It's a little too far, but I'll tell you this, just from watching the Pelicans on League Pass, nobody wants to guard Zion in the paint.
Nope.
Nobody. I mean, if you get his butt on you in the paint, it's over with. He's getting whatever look he wants down there. I mean, he's a damn bully.
He is.
And I'll tell you, man, like it's not even just the Zion show. You look at Jonas. Like I pulled up yesterday, looked at his PER. His PER, he's like plus 47. You look at BI plus 47. I mean, obviously because they've been winning games, and I mean, and beating Brooklyn. I mean, that helps everyone's PERs, right? Like
Right.
the way that they did it. I mean, but you look at like across the board, like their starters are solid. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4 starters all averaging over 20 points a game. Then if you look at off their bench, who would have guessed it? I mean, I haven't kept up with Trey Murphy much, but Trey Murphy's been balling.
He's knocked down.
He's been balling for them. Larry Nance Jr. has been a solid role player, and Alvaredo's been doing his job. I mean, you sit there and look at between just those 5 to 7 players in the rotation. Excuse me, and Herb Jones is one of the best defenders in the league. He's averaging like a block and a half per game. You sit there and look at their top guys that are going to be logging big playoff minutes. Man, you can't tell me too many teams that can withstand that. Like you got CJ from the perimeter, you got Zion and Jonas that you got to deal with in the paint, then you got BI handling up the mid range. Man, stop it, man. That's a Chipotle team.
I still think you're going a little too far. I mean, we saw them beat Brooklyn coming out of the gates. Brooklyn looked pretty sloppy, and then beating a Hornets team. I think we'll really know more this week. So they play Utah tonight, and then they play a tough 3-game stretch against the Mavs, Suns, and Clippers. That'll be more of a test. I do think they're a great team. I also think they could fall into that category of a great regular season team, but I just do not see this team going deep in the playoffs just because they have all the tools, but I still think all my points from the first episode remain still. I don't think they're going to be great on defense.
They won't have enough defense.
They won't have enough defense. I still don't think they'll have enough shooting. Trey Murphy can hit open shots, but when you look at a front court of Zion, Jonas Valanciunas, Brandon Ingram's not really like a knockdown shooter either. I'm still worried about the team long term. I do think they have all the talent in the world, but another thing is you have to go through your lumps first. Like they had that one series against the Suns last year. They looked okay, but I still believe that you have to go through a couple playoff wounds before you're a real contender. And I just don't see that with this team. I think there's still a few missing pieces. One thing to keep in mind, they have that Lakers pick. That could be a big asset. That could be a big trade asset if they decide they want to push all in for this year. They have literally 15 draft picks over the next few years. So they could get to the deadline and be big buyers, and at that point I might change my mind, but I just don't see this team as a title contender yet. I think you're jumping the gun just a little bit, but they are really fun to watch, and it's a good story, so.
Well, look, I'm telling y'all, I said it week 1, and I'm saying it week 2. I'm riding with the Pelicans. As long as they don't play one of my teams, we're good. But I'm riding with the Pelicans, man. I like what they got down there. You start thinking about, I get it. You're worried about their shooting a little bit, right? But you start talking about in the playoffs, they get in a half-court setting. Man, dealing with Jonas and Zion in the paint, how many teams are they going to get in foul trouble halfway through the game?
They could, but I just don't think they're going to have the spacing when you get into a playoff series too. Like with Jonas, with Zion, Brandon Ingram, none of them are shooters. CJ's a little inconsistent.
Legitimate.
So when they get into a half-court situation, and then on the other end on defense, I just still remain at that point. I think Herb Jones is a great defender, but surrounded by the other 4 people, can he really handle the whole defensive weight on his back? I'm not a buyer yet, but I might be proven wrong. Like I said, they've got some tough games this week. If they go out and they take 2 out of 3 against those tough games that they have coming up, then I might lean more towards it. But for now, I need to see a little bit more from the Pelicans before I jump the gun and call them title contenders. So who's next? TC, what you got? What's your overreaction over the first week?
This is a hot take. This is a really hot take.
Let's hear it.
I got the 76ers as a play-in team this year.
Play-in team.
Oh, man. Man, when did you cook that one up?
We got a rough start for the 76ers so far, and they just don't look like they're vibing whatsoever.
They are not vibing. That is one thing. You've got Embiid skipping the press conference after the second game of the season. He already doesn't want to talk to the media. I'm not feeling good about the vibes around the team, but I'm still just a believer in the talent of Philly. I still think Maxi's looked pretty solid so far, and Harden actually looks pretty good. He looks like more like early Harden.
He looks like he's back in shape, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the last game he kind of had some off moments, right, where Twitter was kind of attacking him a little bit, right? But you sit there and you look at that roster. I mean, the one issue I might have with that team is we could sit here and talk about Doc Rivers and some of his questionable coaching. I think that might be an issue down the stretch of games.
Does Doc get replaced? What would it take for Doc to get replaced?
Okay.
So they're 0-3 now.
Okay.
If they're 3-7 after 10 games, what do you do with Doc?
I think he's still there.
Yeah, he's still there. He's still there 3-7. But if they make it to a point to where
15-15 after 30 games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see them saying, "Hey, Sam Cassell or whoever is their assistant coach. I think they roll with an interim maybe to switch it up, just because clearly if they get in a hole with Doc Rivers, he's not going to make any adjustments."
Oh yeah, we've seen that. Yeah, I'm still a believer in the talent, and I want to remind you guys. Remember Boston last year? How bad they started out. It's a long season.
And
man.
Dallas.
I thought they were.
the
I
same
thought
way?
Boston was going to be a seller at the deadline last year.
Yeah, they looked awful. It looked like Jaylen Brown was on the way out. They had all these issues, and they just flipped a script, and all of a sudden they're in the championship game. It's a long season, 82 games. They played 3, and yeah, they don't look great yet. Embiid's pouting a little bit. Embiid pouts every year. Like, that happens. He's going to be okay. He just dropped 40, even though they had a loss. Like, my biggest thing is Embiid looks okay. Harden looks great. Maxey still looks great. I think they have a decent supporting cast. They haven't really gelled together yet, but I think all of their issues are solvable. I think it's just more of a chemistry thing and figuring out the vibes. I still think this team, honestly, I'm going the other way. I still think they're a title contender team. They just have to figure out some things in the locker room right now.
Right. I mean, the Spurs loss was bad, right? But you got to think about. I mean, they competed in the other one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, was the game before that? I'm having a brain fart. Excuse me.
They were playing Milwaukee, and they lost like right at the end.
Yeah. Come on now. You're playing a championship caliber team in the Bucks who have had 0 turnover on their roster, right?
Nope.
And then they're trying to incorporate new schemes in Philadelphia and all this stuff. I think it's way too early to sit here and throw the Sixers under the bus, TC. I think you just got some hate for Embiid or Harden or somebody over there.
That might be what it is.
All right. After 25 games, what's the record that makes you unsettled, where you start changing your mind a little bit? What would that record have to be for them where you start getting worried about this team?
I think so. They start 0-3. I think if they're like a couple games below 500, like if they're like 10-15, yeah, somewhere around there, I'd feel bad. But if they're 12-13, 13-12, that means clearly they've started to figure it out, and I would still feel good about them. I think if you get around the halfway mark, if they're around 20-20, somewhere around there, I would still feel fine about them. I think their game is made for the playoffs. They do just have to figure out there's some situations where Harden is getting back to old Harden. Like, he looks great, but he's getting a little more ball dominant, where he was kind of a little more unselfish last year. So they've got to figure that out. I was kind of curious about the fit when Harden first got traded over there last year, how he would work with Embiid. But I just think all of their problems are solvable to the point where we go to the back half post All-Star break, and they've just got it figured out, and the talent outweighs. So I still feel good about them, but I might be proven wrong. They definitely don't look too hot right now, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So what's your hot take and overreaction after week 1?
All right, so we've been recording for way too long. We haven't mentioned the LA Lakers yet. That is my hot take. These guys look like straight trash. We literally just saw them blow another game to the Blazers right before we started recording this. They were up by 7 with like 2 minutes left, and of course Westbrook's out there pulling up for mid-range, missing again. They've got LeBron shaking his head, shrugging back up and down the court. This Lakers team, I said it last week, I'll say it again now, they are a complete mess, and they are not even a play-in team. That is my overreaction, and I stand by that.
This is the part where I sit here and tell you everything's going to be okay. This is the part where I tell you that you're wrong and that you have lost your mind, that this team has LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and that they will be okay.
I think I hear a butt coming in.
However, I didn't use but, I used the however. You do that? Hey, that's good. That's good English right there. I want to give a shout out to all my English teachers that have ever taught me in my lifetime. All right.
I'm sure they're all listening.
I'm sure they are. But yeah, you're right, man. I just do not see it. Now here's the one caveat. You sit here and think about their roster. Honestly, if they could go pick up 2 shooters, something like, let's say, just an example or whatever. It's a whole bunch of trades being floated out there, but let's say that like Dallas wanted to dump some salary to they could go and make a move in next year's free agency, right? To put someone around Luka. They wanted to trade Tim Hardaway Jr. and Davis Bertans for Russell Westbrook. No picks, or maybe Dallas gives them a pick or something like that too.
I think LA would have to give anybody a pick to take Westbrook's contract right now, which they could do, but
not necessarily, because a team. The reason why I mentioned a Dallas situation, because you look at if they made that trade, it will work for both teams. Dallas frees up some money because Westbrook, after that, he's on an expiring deal. We forget that. like a $44 million expiring deal. That's one of the greatest expiring deals ever if you're trying to dump some salary.
Okay, and I know this is just your hypothetical, but tell me why Dallas does that. And even if you look at any other team, why would any team give up real value for Russell Westbrook? Unless it's just like, I could see it being like a lower end team, like maybe the Pacers do, like the Buddy Hield, Miles Turner type of thing. But when you get to a point when you're telling me the Lakers are going to be okay because they might get Tim Hardaway and Davis Bertans.
Yeah, we're in dire straits.
We're in a tough situation right now.
They have to bring in some more shooting.
They have to bring in more shooting.
Who's
than that.
the guy that they have been playing? Is it Logan Ryan? Is that his name?
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
He is the best shooter.
Logan
on
Ryan
the team.
was a great cornerback for the Titans. Had a solid career.
And Matt Ryan is a quarterback.
And Matt Ryan threw 2 picks to my Titans today, so we can talk about that too. But yeah, so Matt Ryan, he's like their one shooter. I think he like spent some time in Boston, finally got his shot in LA, and like him and Austin Reeves are like coming off the bench and like playing big rotation minutes, and it's just a disaster right now. You look at their bench, like who they have playing around AD. They've got Austin Reeves, Matt Ryan, a little bit of Lonnie Walker, but like these rotations and lineups that they have, it's just like who is going to score? I just think that team is a mess. I think even if you bring in like a Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, they still just need so much more help than that. And I'm just gonna pull up the Western Conference right now. Tell me, I'm gonna pick 10 teams that I think that could finish ahead of the Lakers. Tell me if any of these are outlandish. So the Clippers, they're finishing ahead of them, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The Pelicans, you're high on them. They're finishing ahead of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Nuggets, I feel like they'll finish ahead of them. That's 3.
Yeah.
The Grizzlies, 4. The Suns, that's 5.
Yep.
Warriors, that's 6. Timberwolves, that's 7. Mavericks, that's 8. Trailblazers, they're 3-0 right now. That's 9. And then Sacramento, that's when you get to where it's a little closer, that Sacramento area, possibly like a Utah. Like, I think they're right there borderline for the 10 seed, and I think Sacramento could end up pushing all in to take them out of the play-in. I see these guys finishing like around the 11 or 12 spot. And what if LeBron turns his ankle and he's out for 3 or 4 weeks? That team will lose every single game.
And AD's not going to play every game.
Oh, we already know AD's going to miss at least 20 games.
Yeah.
So what happens when it's just LeBron surrounded by Matt Ryan, Logan Ryan, whoever they have, Austin Reeves?
Don't they have to do whatever it takes to win, though? Because they don't have their own picks.
Right.
They do. So how long do they wait until they make a move?
But they don't have any valuable assets to move either.
So they have – it's crazy. So their pick this year will get swapped for New Orleans, and then New Orleans can take their 2024 pick, or they can push that to 2025. And so the next pick the Lakers can actually trade is 2026, and then since you can't trade back-to-back years, they could also trade 2028. So they could trade those 2 first-round picks if they really want to make a move. They'd probably have to give a team a first to take Westbrook's contract and then possibly get some value back. So they could sacrifice their entire future, but how much can they even get back with just those 2 picks and Westbrook?
I thought it was 27 and 29.
I think it's 26 and 28.
Whatever.
Either way,
it's
way
out
out
there.
in the future. Yeah, LeBron.
Okay, so Chance, what would you do if you were the GM?
I think I would give it a few more games to see how it looks, but I would be heavily making calls now, and I would be selling out everything I could. I'd be selling the 2026 and the 2028, or if it's 27 and 29, because you can only sell 7 years out. They have 2 first-round picks and Westbrook. I mean, I guess you have to look towards some type of like Buddy Hield, Miles Turner type of move and just hope that everybody stays healthy. But I do think you have to go all in for everything you can. Or, I mean, you could wait a little longer and see if you get some more sellers, and maybe the market opens up a little bit more later on. But it's like, when you look at this team's schedule, when do they get their first win? Because they just lost to the Trailblazers in a nail-biter. So they play at Denver, at Minnesota, home against Denver, home against New Orleans. Do they win any of those games? I think they're 0-7 at that point.
No, yeah, I don't see it happening, man.
And
Can
then
they get to a spot where they actually consider moving LeBron?
Yeah, that's my next question. Do you think that ever happens? Not even just LeBron, TC, like, but AD too as well. Do you just say, let's just blow it all up and just see what happens?
But what do you blow it up for? Like LeBron, he's in LA.
You'd have to bring in a lot of picks back.
Yeah, I just think, honestly, I think LeBron is going to get to a point where he's like, this team is shot. We're not making the finals. I'm just going to go for the record, try to get my 30 points per game, play as much as I can, and whatever happens, happens from there. I don't think they'll trade LeBron. I just don't think you trade him from LA. I think it's just at a point where it kind of is what it is. He's going to ride out his career, play for another couple years until Bronny comes into the league, and then he'll play with him for a little bit. But
yeah, and he just signed the extension this summer. So obviously, I mean, he's obviously okay with that. You know, he might not admit that, but but he's obviously okay with that.
Yeah, I saw something on JJ Redick this past week. Talking to Lakers fans, and he was saying that this should be a season to celebrate LeBron. That was how he was trying to make the Lakers fans feel better about having such a bad team, was that y'all should just celebrate LeBron this year.
Hey, I'll tell you, I'm a Mavs fan. My last few years on the Dirk era, we were garbage, and it was literally just, okay, is Dirk gonna hit 30,000 points? Oh yeah.
At this point, it's just
as a fan of a team, especially LeBron. LeBron's not Kobe Bryant. He's not beloved by that Lakers fan base.
No, he's only been there for a few years. He's hopped around a little bit. It's just, I mean, you win the championship with a strict formula in 2020 with LeBron and AD and shooters, and that's always been the formula around LeBron is you build him around shooters. And so I never understood the Westbrook move. I didn't understand it then, and it clearly is just not working out. You've got to get him out of here. I think both sides need a fresh start there. It's just who are you going to find that is willing to take on his contract and willing to take on, his personality. I don't know what the next move is. I really just think it's a situation where you just let LeBron do his thing. If that's what the fans want to do, if they watch Westbrook go down and miss his 7th straight mid-range jumper, they can just remind themselves that they did get a championship with LeBron. If that makes them feel better, celebrate LeBron. But there's going to be nothing to celebrate this year unless they happen to sneak in the play-in and they get a play-in win, and then we'll see a lot of celebration from Patrick Beverley. But besides that, there's nothing to celebrate.
I could see a John Wall type move where they move Westbrook and his contract, and that team that takes him on, he's not even on the roster. He's not playing.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Well, so the question is for you, our listeners, for those Lakers fans out there, please give us a comment below if you think that if you would be okay with the Lakers just mailing it in this year and just celebrating LeBron, or you would rather your Lakers go on out there and trying to compete. Let us know. So, moving on to the next thing, TC. You have been saying a lot of things, and I wanted to give you a time to get some things off your chest. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
So this next topic, this next category, or whatever you want to call it, I'm calling it the
He needs some milk.
presented by TC. I just want you to let us know who you think needs some milk out there after a week 1 of the regular season.
My boy Ben Simmons.
Give him some milk.
I love Ballerina's chance.
That is true. We established that.
This guy is graceful on the fast break, but he has just looked putrid in week 1. He is not really part of the offense at all. I'm pretty sure he had a game where he was 1 for 1 shooting, and that was his contribution on the offensive end. I expected more from the guy start off the season. I thought he'd fit in a little better. Maybe it comes around. Maybe he gets more involved in the pick and roll. Right now, he's basically an afterthought in that offensive scheme. Kyrie's cooking. Durant's doing his thing, and then Simmons is basically out there to play defense and rebound only, although he did get brutally slaughtered out there by Zion Williamson when they matched up against each other.
Most people have been, to be fair. Yeah, I think it's been rough for Simmons. I was really curious how he would look with the fit because ideally this is like the perfect place for him to be surrounded by KD and by Kyrie. But yeah, I mean, he took 3 shots in the first game, 5 shots in the second game. He's looking okay on defense for the most part. But
is he? I mean, he fouled out in week 1.
He's been on the struggle bus.
Game 1.
Yeah,
he's really been on the struggle bus.
I mean,
I don't really know. I thought he was going to be a better fit than he is. I think how much of it is just mental? He doesn't seem like the most mentally strong player that's out there.
He doesn't seem very mentally stable. And he's one of those guys that, to me, it seems when things start going awry, he mails it in.
Yep.
He mails it in. He's not going to battle back and, pick himself up. He's just going to lay on the ground. And that's not the best attribute to have in the NBA.
Yeah, and after how things went down last year, I mean, all you could do was just hope that, right, like that his mental health and everything was going to be better for him, just because, like, Ben Simmons, man, people forget when he won that Rookie of the Year that year, he was phenomenal. People were calling him the next LeBron. and everything. Hell, even LeBron thought he was the next him. He re-signed him. You know, but then LeBron quickly jumped off that train and was like, "Hey, Luka's my guy." You know, so I mean, he's got so much potential, and it's crazy. It's just when you think like you have to think like if he can't put it together this year with the Nets, then what does his value become for a franchise?
Yeah, I mean, he's still young. He's like 26, so he still has some time to try to develop, but it's like I don't think he wants to develop. I feel like he's kind of happy with the player he is. Based on, you know, his interviews, he doesn't seem like he's content. He thinks that he's fine without having a jump shot. And I just don't understand how you get that good at everything else and you just refuse to improve your jump shot. And in the league that we play in now, like, you cannot be that poor of a shooter where they just do not have to respect you at all. And so, yeah, it'll be curious to see how they look moving forward. They'll be here in our hometown Memphis tomorrow night, so we'll get a good look at how he looks in person. But yeah, I'm not super thrilled with the fit so far. I'm curious to see where that goes.
All right. And then Chance, you also, I know we let TC give his piece on one guy, but you've also been in the group chat going off all week about this one man in particular, which everybody else has been going off about, but for some reason you are just completely done with him.
Yeah, and we've talked about it a little bit. That's Russell Westbrook. And I will say, like, I was a Russell Westbrook defender for a while. Like, I loved how he played in OKC after Kevin Durant left. I thought that he just went at it and battled and played hard every single night. But at some point, like, you just got to accept your role and know, like, what you're doing is not working. And he was just putrid in that Clippers game, literally 0 for 11 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3, and thought that he played well.
He played hard.
He played hard. Yeah, he definitely did not play well. And then even the game that we just watched a second ago, he was 4 for 15 from the field. He comes down, jacks up a mid-range shot, and bricks it with 30 seconds left that kind of turned that game around as well. Yeah. It's just, at some point, you have to realize, like, he should be doing what Ben Simmons is doing and just not shooting at all. Like, Russell Westbrook should be finishing like 3 for 5 from the field because his jump shot just completely lost him, and it's just not a good fit at all. And even like when he came off the bench in the preseason and he tweaked his hamstring, and so he said that the reason he hurt his hamstring was because he came off the bench.
Yeah, at some point, like this is the same path that like Allen Iverson took, man, right? Like where you think you are something when you were just not that anymore. And which is cool. You know, you can go down at Allen